Kia ora, g'day, welcome back here with another reaction request, a paid reaction request. This time to Mr. Hugh here interviewing Mr. Pasha Munro on the HR. This is the icebreaker part, so he'll explain it anyway as we get into it. So let's jump in.
If you are new to HR, if you are here because basically you follow Pash, or you listen to Pash, or you want to listen to what Pash has got to say and listen to more and hear more of what he's doing and what he's done, then be aware that this is an icebreaker episode of HR. It's going to last about 20 minutes, and then there'll be a follow-up episode which will be immediately next in your podcast player, whatever you're watching or listening to this on, where I do a full podcast with Pash. For this icebreaker episode you're about to listen to, I'm going to be asking Pash questions which were submitted by HR patrons ahead of this podcast. HR patrons get access to the guest list. They get access to the live stream of this podcast. They are listening, they're watching this right now, or some are watching this right now, and they get opportunity to submit guests questions for the guests. Like I said, they also get the opportunity to jump onto a Zoom call with guests a few weeks after the podcast has happened and personally Q&A the guests, speak to them, meet to them, listen to them on a private Zoom call. So please, if you want to support what I do and if you want to actually have the opportunity to jump on a Zoom call with Pash, then become a patron of H-Hour. It costs about £5 a month, not a lot at all. Depressingly, that is less than the price of a cup of coffee these days in Costa or Starbucks or wherever you get it. It's very depressing. Coffee's expensive. H-Hour patronage is not. Anyway, on to the...
Hey, that's a good plug for Hugh Keir, and it's good to, as I said, he would go through it. I have heard him talk about that before in other reactions that I've done, but explains it really nice and clearly for anybody that wants to follow Mr. Hugh Keir and the HR podcast and the work and time and effort and energy that he puts into his show, the time that he makes for his patrons and the guests, and the opportunities that you would have if you want to sign up and join his patron membership, so that you can have access to the guests and all that sort of stuff and chuck them in some questions and have live interactions with them. I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's jump into this icebreaker.
Icebreaker. Pasha Munro, welcome to the studio, mate.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm happy. I'm happy you the labour of driving or however you got all the way down from all the way up there to the big city. You can't do this very often, do you?
I don't come in. I'm a northerner. It costs me money to come down here. I get claustrophobic with people all over me, and people want to mug me and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't come down very
Well, the
often.
previous guest, Joe Brooks, that you saw on the way out downstairs, he's from South London, from Croydon area, and he's been having to go up north recently. And he's like, "Fucking hell, up
Mate,
north."
I think I'd let him get. I'd let him give me a bit of banter, mate, because obviously who he is, I wouldn't like to flip in, give him any back.
Yeah, he can say what he likes. He can say what he's like. Don't hit me. Yeah, 100%. Right, we got a bunch of questions here from the patrons on a range of different topics, all military orientated. No surprises there. So, in no particular order, let's get into them. And I've not vetted these per se before we go. If there's anything I ask you and you cannot answer fully, answer whatever you can. I understand that with your background, there may be details and stuff you can't go into.
Yep.
Totally normal. And most of the listeners and viewers are the same. So anyway, question number 1 from a patron called Coke. Do you view UK Special Forces whistleblowers as doing wrong? Or do you respect the moral courage?
That's tough.
Straight in deep.
That is wow.
Straight in deep.
I do.
Coke has some good questions, ladies and gentlemen.
I do believe that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing because they shouldn't. Yeah, and the reason is that when the guys go out and do their job, they're getting told to do that, and however they accomplish that within the law, that's the big. Obviously, that's the rules of engagement. Then they should be left to do it. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting part of what Pasha's take. Pasha, sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, Munro, take on that they shouldn't, whistleblowers shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And then he goes on to explain within the law, within the rules of engagement, and they're doing what they've been told to do. There's points in that, like you could really break that down, and maybe he's going to talk a bit more, but this is just my take of initially what comes to mind for me in terms of the reaction that I've been asked for. And this is one of those paid requests anyway as well. But I would have paused this probably at this point and given my take anyway right now based on what I've just heard. I tend to agree with, to a certain point, with regards to what Pasha is saying. That point for me and that line for me is doing what you're told and or doing what they're told to do. Yes, but within reason. So rules of engagement are rules of engagement. Being told to carry out something that you know, and I know I've shared this before, and thankfully I can say this much too. So it's all well and good for me to be sitting here in my chair and saying this, but typically I think we all know when we see something and hear something and something feels wrong, like it just doesn't feel right. So say if it was an unlawful command, if somebody tells you to do something, whether the hairs on the back of your neck stand up or your spidey senses start tingling, whatever, you'll generally have an inclination or an inherent feeling, a gut feeling, whatever, your conscience speaking to you in some way, shape or form, telling you that either this is the right thing to do or this is not right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. So I shouldn't be doing it. So at that point, and depending on the person and the individual, that may be a different line for certain people. Some people may not see any problem with a particular order, which may be deemed unlawful to somebody else and or to other people. So there's all those sort of factors to play into account, and hence why I said you could really delve into this for a long period of time. But I'll try not to take up too much time before somebody rings the bell on me and tells me, get out of there. But I agree to a degree, to a point, with regards to what Pasha is saying so far. Rules of engagement, they're sort of, they're pretty well set and they're pretty clear and easy to understand. Unlawful commands or being told to do something that you believe is unlawful, that's a clear delineation or a line in the sand for me personally in regards to making a decision, your own personal decision. Then it's my belief it's your own personal decision at that point to either do I follow that unlawful command or do I not follow it. Anyway, let's carry on and hear what he has to say.
And kept in house, I think, unless an outside agency, unless they do something wrong.
Yeah, I think
I think he's summarised that. He said unless they do something wrong. So yeah, if people do something wrong and if it's an unlawful command, there's two things there. One, preferably don't follow the unlawful command, and then as soon as you get back to base camp, whatever, after action review, patrol report, put that out, get that recorded, documented, whatever you need to do, make sure it's documented, have your own personal record, have other people if you need to from the patrol to corroborate or whatever, back you up, support you in other words, because something may come up further down the track or whatever. At least it's been documented. Even if the unlawful command, and I'm using the unlawful command as an example just on base of all the war crime stuff that's come about at the moment, and I'm taking some license here with regards to this reaction, as I do with all reactions. But if it is an unlawful command in this scenario that I'm sort of making up as we go, then you want to have a record of that in case something else similar happens down the line and it's the same person involved, but maybe other people are being impacted, and or so that there's potentially the ability to trace and track and see that there is some sort of pattern that was forming up here or that was developing and what was being done as a result of that. So anyway.
Oh, you're sort of whistleblowers. In fact, there's more to it. So he says here, Ben Griffin, you may have heard of Ben Griffin, ex-Hereford whistleblower.
Right.
Ben Griffin said his SAS unit knowingly delivered civilians for torture, including teenage kids, and he gave many talks on this. Many anonymous ex-UKSF...
Pasha here, I think this is a pretty recent one, but he looks shocked, like he hasn't heard of Ben Griffin.
Alleged to the BBC that their unit murdered civilians, killed prisoners, and senior officers were aware. I think what Coke is referring to here is whistleblowers of illegal activities.
Right.
That's what he's referring to.
Well, my time within the military, I didn't do anything illegal. So I'm happy with that. And the people who I was with didn't. So I've never thought of it like that. That if I was in a situation that someone did something wrong, what I would do. I believe
That's an interesting point too, what he's just shared there. One, he hasn't done anything illegal. The guys that he worked with haven't done anything illegal from his time. And therefore it never entered his head or his mind what he would do if he saw something illegal taking place. And that's a good point. I think I could probably connect with that in my own way in regards to my mind just wasn't occupied with going to war to do anything illegal, if that makes sense. It was, don't get me wrong, it was focused on my job and getting as good as that as I could, especially once we then did deploy, and then once we were in country, and then we we're still doing some pre-deployment training, and then once we went into country, all of that stuff you want to do your job as well as you can, and you have an understanding that part of your job may mean that you may have to take another person or person's life in the course of serving in your job as well as you can to protect not only yourself but your mates and or those whom it may be your duty to protect, who may not be in a position to be able to protect and or defend themselves. So that's where my focus was. It didn't have it. I didn't have any thoughts in and around, wonder if I could push the boundaries and see how far could I take this. I wonder if any of the guys that I'm working with will be, if we capture people, will we then, execute them because if we let them go, well, then they're going to have better intel and blah, blah, blah. And I've spoken about that on other videos and stuff that I've spoken about, not having those thoughts. But what I'm getting at here is that those thoughts just didn't enter my mind. And I never heard any discussions like that, which is probably a testament, again, to what I've shared about in my time in Iraq, and we had a number of people surrender to us. They engaged and they initiated and engaged us. They initiated the contact. They were firing RPGs, small arms, trying to get their mortar plates set up to launch mortars at us as well. They initiated it all. We then we responded, reacted, kept winning the firefight, kept advancing forward towards contact, and eventually they capitulated and surrendered, and we didn't execute them. So that would have been a war crime had we done something like that. So that stuff there, like at that time, don't remember the exact words I've spoken about, but I know I spoke about this in a couple of podcasts anyway. I don't know that I personally had any thoughts of, we should drop these guys. I probably did think that in the moment, to be fair. I probably did think, man, if we let these guys go, look at how many there are. These guys are just going to be better equipped and prepared and come back better, harder, faster, etc. for us next time. So I probably did have that thought, but it's not if I did, I can honestly say it's not like it must not have been a real powerfully overwhelming thought. I did have an overwhelming thought of, man, when we let these guys go, they are going to be so much better prepared for us next time. We are going to have to be at an even higher level again in regards to, because this time they initiated us. They started the contact. We reacted, and then we fought and advanced towards it, and we won. We are going to have to be even sharper, even better, and hopefully, preferably, they are not initiating the contact. We see them in advance, and we either get the drop on them first, and or we have some different approaches or SOPs, TTPs, whatever people want to call them, in regards to how we respond. So we're not always responding the same way to each contact, because that would just be like intelligence gold for those people that we let go. Anyway, I'm taking up too much time. I need to ring the bell.
With the military part aside, I think, we know what's right and wrong. And if it is wrong, then, you put your hand up and say, or, you go through the consequences. I mean, there there is the thought that, if you're...
He just nailed it for me. We know, we inherently not, and I say we, I'm talking about everybody. If you're watching this, somebody watching this, whether you're military or non-military, we inherently, I believe, know when something looks right, sounds right, feels right, and or looks wrong, sounds wrong, feels wrong. And then it's up to the individual then to make that choice, that decision, which can, there's no denying, can and will likely take courage. But whichever way you go, you then need to face the consequences, live with the consequences and or face those consequences, good and or bad. There can't be this case of, or he's superior to me, he told me to do it, so I did it. And conversely, there needs to be that conviction to, no, that's rubbish, I'm not doing that. And these are the reasons why it's wrong. You don't have to get into a massive debate, but you need to be able to stand your ground in whatever decision or path you choose to take.
Going in a room and you pull the trigger and you find out that it was a wrong thing to do, but then you've got to question whoever's questioning you. It's a split second, so that person has to make that choice, and if it is, quote, murder, then it's not his fault. But that's
split second decisions like that, I don't think, that's very, very different. I was looking at it more from the context of like the war crimes allegation stuff that I've been doing reactions to in regards to RS. The allegations that have come about. So detainees, unarmed detainees. That's where I was looking at it from. Like if you've been given an intelligence pack and you've got the information to go and everything's been signed off, you've had the orders, etc., and you go in and you're working within your ROEs, etc., and you storm into a building or you blow into a building using MOE or whatever, explosive method, whatever the case might be, and you're in the right place, but heaven forbid the intelligence is wrong and that's not the place that you should have been, or somehow, wires got crossed somewhere, and you've dropped people in that building or in that, whatever it is, compound, based on the orders and the ROEs that you were given, then to me, that's not murder. Like that is massively unfortunate, tragic circumstances in terms of, but then you've got to look deep. How did we get this wrong? How did the guys carried out the job that they were meant to do, that they were asked to do, based on this information at night under NVGs, explosive MOE, flashbangs going in there as well, lots of things cooking off, people running around. They were told that the people in there are whatever the orders are, their enemy, they are to be killed or captured, and they dropped them. To me, that's not murder. And to me, it's hard to, like you're saying, split-second decisions to know whether or not what you're doing in that moment, you assume that the intelligence and information that you've got is correct, because there's been all this work behind the scenes that you're generally not a part of. And then you just get all the information presented to you, you go through it, have some time to digest it, then you have specific orders for it, then you've got to do a gear prep for it, and then you're getting onto whatever transport it is to get yourself towards a target to go carry out the job.
My opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, question 2. Is UK Special Forces, as let's consider it all one organisation, which is not, but this is how he's referring to it, UK Special Forces as an entity, is it a moral organisation?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so if so, there's
I would say yes as well. Like, I've never served in the UK SF, but I know people that do serve there and have served there, and they are blanking men of integrity. To me, men of professionalism, integrity, blanking just incredible mindset, professionalism, skill, courage, all positive things that I think a vast majority of people, whether they're military or not, rightly or wrongly, assume those types of people to be. So my opinion of UKSF, having worked with some in a private security setting, not in the military setting, and then knowing what I know of some of those that have gone on and served there, and like I said, having worked with some in the private sector, they seem to be have high morals and values there, is my take anyway.
Follow up.
Yep.
So if you think it is, so how would you explain the claims that so Ben Griffin referred to, and there's the other, these murder allegations and stuff? If it's a moral organization, and there's Mark Urban apparently has done books on wrongdoing.
I don't know how Pasha or anybody could explain it. It'd be the same if I was asked the same question about the Australian SAS. Are they a moral entity, organisation? Or if it was to take Australian Special Forces, including the commandos, into that as well, in the same entity, like what's been described here, would I consider those moral entities or organisations? And my answer would be 100% yes. Are there lemons and bad apples in every organisation? Yes. But are they predominantly moral, professional, all of those, integrity, etc.? My view, my experience is yes. How then, if I was to take this question, not that it's been asked to me, but I'm jumping in anyway to give my reaction, because I assume that's part of what this person is wanting as part of my reaction. If that question's then put to me, then how do I explain the operators from the regiments calling out war crimes against Ben Roberts-Smith, the footage of Oliver Schultz, which appears damning when you look at it, but apparently there's a heck of a lot more to that, particularly the ROEs that they were working under, etc. as well. I can't answer that in terms of any sort of because I wasn't there with those groups. Two, there's more to it than just that. Are we just talking about how do you explain RS and Schultz? I can't explain it if those allegations are true, but also you could expand on that. How do I explain then the three who carried out the alleged tasks or the alleged executions, and them not speaking up, saying anything earlier, and them not wanting to own and take their part of responsibility and instead seeking immunity? Like, how do I explain that? Well, I can't. What I've referred to and used as my wording is calling them cowards, because I think that that's the case, and rightly so too. If the allegations against RS, and if the allegations against RS for what he's alleged to have done is true, then that would be cowardly as well, in my opinion, friend or not. And I do consider him a friend. That would be cowardly if the allegations are true. Similarly, the three who have sought immunity and have managed to achieve that, but who apparently carried out 3 of the 5 alleged war crimes of murder that RS has been charged with, it's equally cowardly, not wanting to take ownership if the allegations are true. So how would I explain, how does Pasha explain these allegations from Ben Griffin and from whoever else this other person is that Hugh just mentioned? I don't know that it's for Pasha to explain that, just like it's not for me to try to explain how that's come about, or what's happened or what hasn't happened, the allegations. Why didn't they do anything back then? Why has it only come up years and years after the fact? The only ones that can really answer that, I think, in relation to those specific types of cases, are the people that are involved. You could extend that to Jay Cowell. How do you explain that him and his team have been found not guilty, but they've still got the sword of Damocles hanging over their head, in the sense that that document that he's got, should new evidence or words to the effect are on this document, should new evidence present itself, then there may be more investigations taking place. So they're not out of it. It's just forever sitting there in the background, just waiting. Is something going to come up 15 years down the track, 30 years down the track, or more, when he's an old man by then or whatever? And then is that going to impact his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, etc., and the rest of his team, So I think it's unfair. I think people that should be answering those questions as well is probably the policymakers and the lawmakers and those doing these investigations. I think there's more to it than what Pasha could potentially answer. I don't know what he's going to say. It's definitely more than what I could say and answer, in terms of, like, I can't answer those. How I can't explain those allegations, again, because I wasn't there. And they're all allegations at this stage.
How do you explain that?
Well, if they have done wrongdoing, they potentially, they should be reprimanded because we don't get taught, we don't get told to do that. That's up to that person at that time. So they are doing right,
Yeah, I suppose it's the bad apple on a tree, right? You get bad apples everywhere. You get things that go. Let's say in examples here, if the wrongdoing is because of literally like individuals making immoral decisions where their trigger finger is concerned, for example, or where torture is concerned, that doesn't make the whole tree rotten.
No, but it also on that.
What a great point from Hugh here. I was smiling before when this guy Pasha said it should be reprimanded. Yeah, in some cases, like depending on what the situation is, it should be a heck of a lot more than a reprimand, right? Like, I think most people probably align with that thought. I'm using some license there. I don't know that for certain. That's just, excuse me, that's just me and my own wishful thinking, actually. So my thought is, I would have thought that most people would agree if you do something seriously wrong. So say if you execute somebody, an unarmed detainee as an example, that's more than a reprimand. Like, it is what it is. It's a war crime. And so whatever those consequences are in relation to war crimes, then those consequences should be handed out. If it is just, something not like that, well then, yeah, a reprimand or a charge or, some extra duties or whatever can probably suffice to make up for that. But yeah, major war crime stuff, nah, that's another level again.
Respect that person. There must be people above him or around him who knows that's happening to stop it as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's a good point. Again, coming back to leadership, and amazing how a lot of leadership managed to dodge and duck and bob and weave at the right times to avoid being brought into, being brought into the spotlight, so to speak.
And if that person keeps on doing it, then that's the problem, isn't it? That person is allowed to do it.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Or that person is being allowed to do it by other people around who are choosing, again, making a choice to do nothing about it. And or potentially they are choosing to allow that to happen because maybe it serves their purpose. Maybe it makes the leaders look good in terms of their KPIs. Oh, well, you've a metric of how many dead KIA or enemy killed in action is a metric for how successful a mission is. Well, leaders are probably pretty happy with getting those numbers up, I would imagine. And I'd like to say this and think that this is true from a legal and moral perspective, not a unarmed detainee perspective. So that's what I would like to think of the leaders. In regards to that context. So I'm not trying to say that leaders are just looking to pad their stats and their numbers, so to speak, and for the sake of promotion or whatever it might be for down the track.
A little bit lighter. Ex-para SAS Robin Horsfall.
Oh yeah,
said about the Marines that he met when he went to Lympstone after the Falklands. Okay, in quotes, the men were very much like paras, but with a less extrovert and more mature attitude towards one another. Whether that was because they had all just returned from a war, I couldn't say. Now, that was in his book, Fighting Scared. The question is, was that your experience of marine culture? And if so, why do you think Marines have a more mature culture than paras?
I've only had a...
That's just an opportunity to stick it in a little bit more to the paras, I would imagine.
A short period working with the paras. So the only time I did work with the paras was doing my mortar fire control course in Warminster.
of all the experiences,
mortars.
Okay.
So that's that says who the kind of people I was rubbing shoulders with, shall we say? And
what year was that?
They're a different breed, mortars. I can't speak for what it's like in Paris, but there must be, like, from a battalion perspective, that was one of the support company areas, and not only were they typically big lads, some might use the term a bit loose if they were describing them. So just seeing Hugh's reaction and hearing Pasha talk about giving a bit of an idea of some of the people that he's rubbing shoulders with, I'm getting an impression, I could be way off the mark, could be wrong, but I'm getting a similar sort of vibe that maybe the paras that were on that mortar fire controller course, were maybe similar to some of the Kiwi types of mortarmen that were there in the battalion at the time.
That was 2000. 2000.
Okay, right.
2000.
Yeah, I joined in May 2000.
Wow. So yeah, I was at Warminster. So them guys, and I have still got a very good friend who was on that course. It is right, and we do seem to be more grown up rather than Roy. Well, we usually call it roily, but I mean going downtown, smashing the place up, blah blah blah. But the Marines do that, but not. I think the Paras do it a lot more.
You think? How often do you think the Paras do it?
I don't know. That's just my interpretation.
Maybe I don't.
That's the perception that the Paras give off. Must be that they go down and smash the town up.
No, I couldn't.
I guess it doesn't happen like that now, but in the 90s, well, it was chaos, wasn't it? Because there was no wars. There was island, but it was just policing.
You had the Gulf in 1990, didn't you? Or 91, yeah. Was it?
But after that, it was because I joined just after that, and once I'm in the unit, I'd be 10:30. I'd be in my room watching Trisha. There wasn't much happening, you know, and the odd exercise here and there, but it was boring, you know. But it gets you fit.
I have no idea what Trisha is. Must be a TV series or something, maybe.
So you do.
It does, but not much else.
Yes, but then you get really fit, and then you go downtown and flipping spunk all your money, and then get in a scrap because you're really fit.
Yeah.
But I think them days are gone now.
Oh, I think they might come back.
Do you reckon?
Because we're in a dip now.
Well, yeah. But I think look,
it's a valid point. The civvies in those areas are probably going, "Oh no, send the lads off to war again." I'm only joking when I say that. They're probably not saying that, but yeah, hopefully the lads don't go out on the lash and then bloody start bashing everybody.
Looking at what's happening now, I think there's possibly a retention problem or people joining up now because it's a different military, isn't it? It's completely different. Whereas we wanted to get in there, dig in, get in the fight, hand to hand kind of face, you know, the old school recce's, the flipping bouncing around, all that kind of stuff. It's all done in the air now. Everything's given to you. I mean, how long is it going to be that we're not going to be on boots on the ground anymore?
No, I don't think that'll ever go away. It's just going to be less.
But it'll be less.
You'll still, you know, there's still a requirement to learn the tools of the trade. You feel your trade craft, your field craft, your like you're saying, recce, your basic ISTAR stuff. In addition to your soldier and stuff.
I think personally, I think that still needs to be and still will be a staple part of any military force, like the basic soldiering skills required out on the ground. From the technical, all that sort of stuff, strategic perspective, even though, you know, drones is only going to become more and more prevalent. AI is going to be more and more prevalent and, dare I say, dominant. Probably just a matter of time before more advanced robotics and technologies are used on the battlefield. Some of that has already been used in the Ukrainian-Russian war with these mechanized machine gun robot things on track systems with cameras set up as a 50 cal or 7.62, whatever they've got, and just holding the lines like there's no bodies there, but this robot is there from some of the footage that I've seen on YouTube. So it's probably just a matter of time before more and more of that becomes a thing. Drones is part of conventional and SF use these days as well in terms of learning how to operate drones. So that's just going to become more and more. And who knows, maybe we end up with what Andorol is doing, maybe we end up with blanking modern day like Halo, that Halo game or movie. I think they made a series out of it or whatever, where they're all tooled up and bulletproofed everything from head to toe. So who knows where this world is going to be in terms of warfare, conflict, all that sort of stuff in another, I think, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time.
But less important, like you said, because of technology. Because you can't get rid of it altogether.
And I think in Limston now, when you go through the training, you get taught the drones now. It's part of your syllabus, and you know it's completely different. I mean,
yeah, like I was saying, even in the conventional army, probably not part of basic training. I don't think it's part of basic training yet. But once you get into your unit and in a combat role, a fighting role, like infantry, even here in NZ, they've got courses for like drone operation and all that sort of stuff these days.
When I joined, I wasn't academic because I didn't get anything. All I just wanted to do in the Marines, but I only got through the Marines because of my physicality. And in my mind that I needed to pass because I had nothing to go back to. So the way people are joining up now have got a different reasoning to join, I guess.
Which is what?
I was going to say that's an interesting take. I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder what he means by that. I wonder what he thinks them having a different reason to join up. I don't know. That's not something that's entered my mind. I don't know that people have a different reason. I think the reasons are probably pretty similar. I think maybe like my mate Nick Caldwell over in Australia has said, what he's noticed and people that he's helped in their preparations for selection, what he's seen and what he's found is that there are candidates coming through who he believes, from what he's seen and his experience, who are just far better prepared physically, mentally, emotionally to go into that type of work than what we were from our time together, which was really interesting hearing him say that as I sat down with him. I would have loved to have delved into that more and spent more time, but we weren't in Perth for very long earlier this year when we went over for our nephew's wedding. But he's very smart, Nick. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. And so if that's what he's seeing, then that's pretty cool. But I don't know that the reasons for going are any different.
Technology, and it's more technology. If you can join the military now and get them qualifications, like the AI kind of stuff, drones, all that kind of stuff, and then you come outside, you're going to get a better job.
I'm not sure if that was the question that is, because I think he said, and I might be wrong, but I thought I heard Pasha say that he went in because he had nothing else to go to. Oh yeah, okay, so I can see where he's going with that. He said he needed to pass because he had nothing else to go to, and his physicality got him through. Obviously, mentally, he must have had more than enough mental and pragmatism, I would probably say, is what gets maybe people like him and probably definitely myself, because I didn't have too many brains either. I still don't. But my ability to do things physically and hands-on, or that kinetic in terms of learning and being competent through kinetic things rather than academic or audio visual and sitting in a classroom, sort of death by PowerPoint or whatever, really didn't suit me. But if I could be doing the thing that I needed to do physically and connect that whole mind-body connection, that definitely helped me being able to apply what I felt I needed to do in terms of soldiering, use of weapons, getting better at navigation, tactics, etc., to be able to perform, at the standards at least required at that time. But I guess I can hear where he's coming from. If he's talking about people going in, they've got more. I suppose what I'm hearing is he's saying they've got more opportunities once they decide to get out if they go in because of the use of technology. Maybe. Yeah, who knows?
Maybe.
But look, from our careers, when we came outside, I didn't have anything to offer really. So it was more of a struggle because I did my maths and English GCSEs when I was 40 because I had to do it to be a sergeant. So I left I've had nothing apart from military courses.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting to hear him say the earlier part around when he came out, didn't really have anything. I know when I stopped doing private security, I had that gap and that moment where I thought, man, yeah, what else have I got to offer? Like, I've got nothing else to offer. I've got no qualifications behind me. So that sent me on a little bit of a journey to start doing some courses to get qualified and to look at seeing what I could get RPL for. And it turns out I managed to get a couple of security diplomas out of that RPL based on my military record and service and things that I'd done. And then got some quals as a trainer and assessor, and personal training, like group fitness and personal training, Cert 3 and Cert 4. So nothing spectacular in terms of qualifications resume-wise, degrees or anything no degrees. So highest level is a couple of diplomas in security and risk management and government security, I think is what it's got on the certificate. Then a Cert 4 trainer and assessor, and Cert 3 and 4 PT stuff. So done various courses in and around health and safety and leadership, Cert 4 and occupational health and safety. But again, that's not an extensive list, eh? It's like 5 things. But I've been really pleased at how surprising myself how well and how fortunate I've been to be able to do out of those things. And by and large, I think for me, a lot of that has stemmed from not only backing myself and trusting my ability to learn things quickly and then to be able to apply them, but to also been very privileged to be in leadership positions across a number of different companies and at different times, whereby it's really helped me grow and learn a lot in those situations, leading and trying to bring a diverse team of people together to work towards achieving the objectives and goals that we had, and had some success, definitely had some challenges and struggles. But I think all of those things over time has obviously just enabled me to grow in confidence, to step outside my comfort zone even more and more, and be excited about the process and the journey and the growth and development as a result. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, right, we might come back onto that in the podcast. Okay, next question from Coke. Do you disagree with Ukrainian men, potentially millions, avoiding their country's draft? As in them.
Coke hasn't asked me, but I'll give my take. I disagree with, what did he say? Hundreds, possibly thousands of men, Ukrainian men, avoiding the draft. Personally, I do, but that's because I've served in the military, so I've got a massive bias. I'd be really keen to hear what Pasha has to say. So I know, for me personally, because of my bias, I disagree with that. I think if there's a draft on and you are capable of serving, then you should serve. It's no different. People might say, "Oh, what if there was a draft happening in New Zealand and your sons were there and they were of age?" Then I would expect them to serve as well. If they don't have a disability and they're physically able, mentally stable, all that sort of stuff, and they and maybe it wasn't on their radar at all and they were wanting to do something else, but now a draft has come up for whatever reason, like in terms of, you'd like to think it's because of an emergency, which obviously you could argue that it is in the Ukrainian-Russian war. Well, it's a war, so they need more numbers, which is a reality of war, unfortunately. So if I was to look at that and from a personal perspective, I would expect any of my sons, like I said, if they're able and they don't have a disability or whatever, to serve, to go into whatever the draft is and, do their part. If that extended to old farts like me that needed to, then so be it as well. Like if I'm able to, which I feel like I am, if worst case something like that was happening, then I would expect people my age who are physically able and hopefully mentally still fairly stable, would would volunteer, would go towards that anyway, if there was some type of emergency. But that's my take. Let's see what Pasha has to say, because that's who the question was asked to.
Avoiding enlistment.
I didn't think there was much of that, because I've been out.
A million surprises me there.
I've been into the Ukraine quite a lot, looking after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, looking after the media, and then people are so passionate.
The media still getting it. Doesn't surprise me. UK SF guys, like there's plenty of them, and that's probably still the case since I stopped doing it. Media wanting to go in and out of those sort of hot spots, which is understandable as well. And lads like this fella looking after them. So
I'm proud that however long this war goes on, they'll be there. So I never saw people or heard people out there that wouldn't go on and do their duty.
Oh, I'm just looking online. All right, so says here, as of early 2026, official Ukrainian reports and independent investigations indicate that millions of citizens are avoiding the military draft through various means, including evading registration, fleeing the country, or going absent without leave.
Oh, wow. Millions of people. Okay, that's surprising. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think if your country needs you, like the people within that country, where you're from, where you're born and raised, where your family is, your loved ones are, etc., I would have thought people with their, patriotism, all war and stuff is bad aside, like those arguments and stuff aside, yeah, I would have thought they would they'd go and surf. But anyway.
Approximately 2 million Ukrainians are wanted by authorities for avoiding military service or violating registration rules.
Wow.
That's from the UK. That's from the Ukrainian Defense Minister
Wow.
in January. Broader estimates suggest that up to 6 million men of conscription age have failed to undergo mandatory military registration as required by updated mobilization laws. AWOL and desertion. Roughly 200,000 to 311,000 soldiers have been reported as absent without leave or have deserted their positions since the start of the full-scale invasion.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I think, did that boxer Vasily Lomachenko, didn't he go and serve and didn't, was it Vladimir Klitschko? The other boxer? Did he go and serve as well in the war, in the fight? Did they go and serve for Ukraine? I don't know. Has, what's his name? Alexander Usyk. Did he go and do that too? I don't know if he did, but I thought I read and heard that Vladimir Klitschko and Vasily Lomachenko went and gave service. Like professional athletes, highly, regarded. I would assume multimillionaires, very well off, etc. They put up their hand. Now, I don't know what their role was if they did serve. Some people might argue and say, well, they were just doing an admin role or whatever, but I don't know. I wasn't there. The fact that they went and did it, though, says a lot in terms of, it'd be interesting, I guess, to know what their service was and where they were. But wow, 6,200,000 and something odd thousand AWOL or desertion. I wonder what their penalties are in the Ukraine for that sort of those sort of charges if they're found guilty.
And an estimated 650,000 men of conscription age have left Ukraine for Europe since February 2022 to avoid the draft.
Wow.
A June 2024 opinion poll found that 46% of Ukrainians believe there is no shame in being a draft dodger. How many did they?
46%? What? Where is this the Chinese? Are these Chinese polls that have been snuck in there? Russian polls been inserted in there and disguised as official Ukrainian polls or whatever? That just doesn't sound right. 46% thinking that it's all right to be a draft dodger? I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Like war, going into conflict, I'm sure is daunting for a heck of a lot of people. I'm not trying to make out it's glamorous. I'm not trying to make out that it's something that people should aspire to or whatever. Like, it's not for everybody, and nor should it be. And just like many other different professions and trades are not for everybody. But the conscription piece, or the draft, whatever it's called, in terms of a country choosing to exercise that and looking to implement that, yeah, my take is I'm for that sort of thing if it needs to happen. I would be against, going back to the original question, I would be against draft dodgers, looking to avoid it. But that's just me, so they may have a lot of support if it's 46% saying, yeah, it's all right, go be a draft dodger. Bloody hell.
Survey, though?
No, surely not.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on that. Like, how many people did they survey? I mean, the numbers stack up, though. But to be honest,
them statistics are huge.
Yeah, but this is. I'm also kind of not surprised because of this. It's a new type of warfare, and you'd think that the horror stories that come back from the front lines about people.
The shit out of
you can see it online. This new day and age where you can just watch people getting flipping rinsed.
That's true. The knife fighting, the Ukrainian soldier got killed by the Russian soldier in hand-to-hand combat after some shooting and stuff, and then I think the Russian guy must have had no bullets left, and then timed it right, come around the corner, charged, and then got into a knife fight, and he killed the. I think he received some sort of award, if I watched the right sort of clip on YouTube, from President Putin, I think. But yeah, that I could imagine that stuff would be very daunting and scary for a lot of people to, and enough for probably a lot of people to go, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Like that's not why they feel they're here on this earth, which is fair enough too. Like I said, understanding and accepting and training to have to engage in something like that, if that's not where your head is at, and if that's not something that you ever saw yourself thinking about potentially needing to having to do in your life, well then, yeah, it's understandable, I suppose, from that perspective. Doesn't mean that I agree with it in terms of draft dodgers or the conscription piece and people avoiding it, but it's just, I think that'll always be a reality regardless of the country.
All day long by drones. It honestly, frightened me. It is frightening.
It's also on the other side, though, isn't it? The Russians are doing exactly the same, legging it.
Yeah.
So that a lot of them don't want to be part of it, but if they don't, they'll probably get flipping taken out.
Yeah. So what do you think about the men avoiding it?
If it was here, I wouldn't like it.
No, true.
Especially a person who's.
It's a great way of describing it. Just, I mean, like I tried to explain and make it, some might say the overly personal perspective, but that's me just trying to be as honest and as authentic as I can. Like, I can't sit here and say, oh, I hate that. I don't like it. They shouldn't be doing that, if I'm not willing to back that up. Would my kids be happy with me saying that? I don't know. But I've got 3 sons that have chosen to go serve in the army, so maybe they wouldn't really care either way. But like I've shared, and I think my children, all my children, not just the boys, know me well enough that if they're physically able and capable of doing something and they're mentally there and sound, then get up and do it. Like if it's a good thing and if it's something that they want to do. In that case of a draft or conscription, if they felt that it wasn't a good thing for whatever reason, I can't go and force them. But if the government has got a conscription in place, and would I expect my children to go do it if the draft is on? Then I would. Like I said, if they're physically able, mentally sound, as long as they don't have a major disability that prevents them, or like a mental illness, which would probably exclude them anyway from being able to do something like that. But otherwise, if they're good to go, then go and do it.
From a military background, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I'm not going to go back to World War I and shoot them in the back.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, so there's a part B to this question from.
It's a bit of a graphic description, eh? You're not going to go back and then shoot them in the back, the deserters or whatever. That's I wouldn't be looking to do that either. I don't know what the answer is, because what does the government do if millions of people go, no, I'm not going to serve, I'm not going to take up arms, I'm not going to put on a uniform, I'm not going to, like, what are you going to do? Put them all in jail? Just herd them to the front line with weapons, pointing guns at them, threatening to kill them? Like, I don't know what the answer is.
And it says, he asks, the Chief of Defence Staff, Richard Knighton, said the UK's sons and daughters will have a part to play in the UK's defence, including war fighting if needed. Would you be okay with your kids being drafted or volunteering for the UK if we went to war?
Look at that. So I didn't know that was going to be a question in here by this person, but I think I've shared my take on that anyway.
With Russia.
So my son is just turned 15, and he wants to join.
He's a fighting age male.
He wants to join the Marines.
Yeah.
Now, I've never laid that on him, and I don't try and talk to him about what I got up to, but he obviously sees that, and he sees.
And that's a great point. I like what he shared there. I like to think probably most parents don't. Oh, this is just my take. Probably most parents don't look to put anything on their children in terms of, you need to go do this job. Like, I know I've not done that. Never, like I've shared in other videos, my wife and I, we never encouraged or discouraged our children from wanting to go to join the army, or the military, or whatever, even though both my wife and I served in the army. And so because the fact is that we've got 3 now that are in the Defence Force here in NZ, 3 sons, and that has been their choice, is cool. Like, to me, like, it's I haven't thrown a party or anything about it, but I think it's cool from the perspective that they are happy. So I'm not only cool with it, but I think it's cool that they are happy, that they are choosing to do something that they want to do of their own accord, and that hasn't come with any requirements. It hasn't come with any forced sort of pressure from myself or my wife to say, you should go serve in the military, or you should go do this. I could be just as happy and think it's just as cool if they were a paramedic, if they were a blinking actor or actress, if they were a police officer, whatever. Like, just as long as they're happy doing what it is that they want to do. I could be just as happy if any of our children, our daughters or our sons, decided that they were going to be blinking video gamers, and that's what they were going to do, and live stream or do social media. I might not be too happy if they were still at home doing that. But if they want to go do that somewhere in their own place, then kate te pai. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I like what I've heard Pasha just say right now. And interesting, his son wants to go and join the Royal Marines as well.
My man cave, etc., etc. But I wouldn't like him to do it. But I'm not going to stop him, because it's his. If he wants to do it, then I'll support him. It doesn't mean I like it, but I will support him.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm kind of in a similar mindset. Yeah, I think the only check and balance that I've done on the aspiration of one of my kids who wants to join up, is I've tried to make sure they aren't joining up because they feel a pressure to.
Yeah.
Because I was in, and what they think of me. Yeah, I got laughed at when I asked that question. Maybe that's more about me trying to be happy that I haven't, like, unknowingly forced a career path here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you can't get away from the fact that, as parents, we're role models, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not.
And
yeah, role models, whether we like it or not. Maybe not very good role models at times. I know I haven't been, and I'm likely still not in many instances and cases with regards to, at least I would say, at least to probably 2 of my children. So yeah, it's a struggle parenting. But anyway, that's another story.
From where I am with my family, I'm a school governor, so all the kids are flipping. Yeah. I'm always on the flipping socials, putting stuff on. I'm on TikTok, etc. My son's kids follow me, so it's hard to not sell myself to them of my military background and where I went after that. So yeah, it's difficult, but like I said, I wouldn't stop him. But it's not something I'd want to go to the careers office and say you need to join up. It's your turn, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, 2 questions here to finish off the icebreaker. Well, the 2 questions rolled into one. What's your most enjoyable moment in combat, and what's your most difficult moment in combat? If you can pick either of those.
My most enjoyable.
Just an interesting way to phrase that question, isn't it?
Your most enjoyable moment in combat. Your most difficult moment in combat. I think for me, initially, what comes to mind is just being with, in combat, in contact is what I'm framing that as in my mind based on the question. Even though it's not to me, so I'm interested to hear what Pasha will say because he'll have far more experience than what I have. But what stands out to me in combat, in contact, most enjoyable part was being surrounded by the guys that I was with and us winning the firefight, like hammering the enemy that started the engagement and us just ripping in and taking it to them. I was in it initially with my main gun, and then even because we were winning the firefight, and I had a bit of a scan off to my left to see, because I was the extreme right of arc where our patrol in our vehicle was, and then looking to my left, there was just lead and going downrange towards the enemy that had engaged us. So once I had that major stoppage, it gave me more than enough confidence for me personally to focus on getting that main primary gun working rather than just spinning my turret around and getting my 7.62 gun into the fight. Because had the patrol commander who had a 7.62 on our vehicle still hammering, driver doing his job, all the other vehicles seemingly hammering away, and the driver then, when we get to positions and bounding with our vehicles, pepper potting basically with vehicles, stopping, he's out, and then he's engaging with small arms and with 84mm HE rounds and stuff as well. So there was a lot of stuff going on. That for me is probably, what was it? The best moments or whatever in combat. Worst moments was that same one having the bloody stoppage. Having the major stoppage. So I can laugh about it now, but I can tell you what, I was not bloody laughing about it in the moment. So there's my best and my worst.
I suppose the most enjoyable is...
enjoyable, sorry, was the word.
Taking someone, neutralizing somebody who's a very, very wanted man who's done a lot of nastiness to our military that haven't come home.
And I'm interpreting what he's saying, neutralizing someone as in killing, taking someone out who's done these bad things to their military and people that he likely knows and or may not directly know, but indirectly, because you're part of the same organization, part of the same heartbeat fighting, in this case, the UK Defence Force, that carries some weight. I could imagine that would probably feel pretty satisfying to him. I'm not saying that that's what he's going to say, but he said probably the most enjoyable, and then he's gone on to speak to where he's at now.
And you've stopped that. It's kind of a proud moment. You know, obviously I don't run around and shout about it, but you've stopped that badness. Even though you don't get a pat on the back, it doesn't matter. It's just move on. So yeah, stopping someone from doing bad things to us, and potentially the UK and our assets.
Mm-hmm. It sounded to me like he's going to say taking someone's life who is a known bad actor who has done bad and horrendous things to UK military and or to UK people in general. So satisfying is the word that he said. Good on him. Much respect, Pasha. Well done.
I've just forgot the other one.
Difficult. What's your most
The
difficult?
most difficult. There's a few times when I've been underwater and things have gone wrong.
Oh God!
So that's
man, that just hearing that sends shivers up my spine. I was like, oh bloody hell! I don't know that I could imagine too many things worse than having, I don't know, some sort of major malfunction underwater, depending on how deep you are, depending on the location, blank, and just what that malfunction. I don't think he's used the term malfunction, but whatever the situation is. So let's get into it. Let me just go back a bit.
Been underwater and things have gone wrong.
Oh God!
So
the thought of being in that situation is
difficult.
not filling me with joy.
I mean, one of the times, I can't go into specifics, but I have stubble, and one of the reasons I have stubble because I was underwater and I had my dry suit on, and I had a chemical reaction to a piece of kit, and the latex burnt. It was on fire underwater.
Oh my God!
Holy
so
heck.
that was difficult.
What depth?
Holy heck! Yeah, what depth?
I wasn't very deep, but I was underwater, and obviously, the physics of being underwater, I can't just shoot up.
Yeah,
I've got to take my time.
You were at a depth that you needed a controlled descent.
You need a proper.
Okay,
okay. So he's saying not that deep. I was thinking, oh, okay, but then if he's still having to have a controlled ascent, then he's deep enough. Holy heck! A chemical reaction, and then the dry suit is on fire. He's well, I don't know if he's got scars on his neck. Maybe he has.
And I wasn't on my own, so I.
Oh, I think he said he's got stubble. The reason that he has stubble, maybe he did end up getting, burns and stuff under that part or where the stubble is on his face. Damn.
Couldn't flap. I had to man up and get on with it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, you're on your own.
No, thank you. That is
And
not
them kind of
yeah, no, thank you. All right.
things, they are very individual, and there's not many people who've been in them situations. So that's it's doesn't happen often, thankfully.
Yep, I've never been in those situations that he's just described for him as most enjoyable and then most difficult, or one of.
Yeah, goodness me. Okay, icebreaker them.
All right, we'll leave this one here. It's about just over an hour. Cheers for the video request. I know this was only a 20-minute icebreaker, but I've managed to drag it out over an hour unintentionally. But yeah, that's what happens when you don't. I need one of those bells. I need to have somebody here that dings the bell when I've been rambling on too long, like now. But appreciate your time and support if you've been here. And that's my reaction to this icebreaker. And we'll see you on the next video, or you'll see me.